Okay, I am 1 minute late. That's never happened before, but that will give you an indication of how screwed up I am. Tonight, I have kind of forgotten how to do this, which is really almost impossible because how do you forget after you've done it like 100 times? But that's what I've done. So I had to refresh my memory, but Facebook decided to make a whole new interface in a way. But I'm glad to see you. Sorry for the grousing. This is the new Chip Murgott 2022.5.8.9 version. Say hello if you're there. If any of my old gang is in the house. And there's my brother-in-law, one of my prime encouragers, Scott Orthy, with his bongos and his orchestra. Trying to find the on button here. Can't even find my mouse right now. Where is it? Hey, Phil Swanson's here. Why is my mouse not working? I guess I can work without it. So stupid. Hi, Nancy. Good to see you. So already we got a quorum, as they say, in the kitchen here. And I've got a ton of things going on. So it's been a while. I haven't been able to see you in a while, and I'm glad to see you tonight. As it turns out, I was supposed to play Kingwood Day. I was going to be the opening act for the fireworks tonight, and that gig fell apart, and it wasn't anybody's fault. Everybody was really on my side, and they were encouraging, and they said, "Do you have a contract?" and da 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 da. I've been playing gigs for 50 years, and I think in that entire time I've had maybe 5 contracts in my life. We do it by a handshake, by word of mouth. If you need a contract, you might be in a bigger tax bracket than I'm in. But there was just a breakdown of communications. It wasn't really anybody's fault, and it didn't help matters that I didn't get the message until about 2 days ago because of I don't check my messages on my answering machine. I have my Strat tonight. Boy, I played a Strat for a long time in my life, 20-some years, and fronted a band with a white Stratocaster like this one that I bought off of a high school kid. And no, I'm not going to play it like that. That's too loud, I know. I realize that. That's that classic Strat sound. Mark Knopfler is kind of partial to that. Clapton is. Everybody who plays the Strat likes these, what we call the out of phase position. So tonight I'm going to show you my paintings, my new paintings. I'm going to play you my new single, which is coming out this coming week. Yes, it's another new single. I have a single out called Only a Dream right now. Carlos Santana has a song. What's that called? I'm something, and I won't be. I'm winning. he's not known as a Strat guy, but he did a Strat solo on this out of phase position, and he sounded just great, like all the great Strat players sound. So this guitar's name is Pearl. You know, the out of phase position was discovered by accident. Do you guys know that story? It used to be a 3-way switch. Now it's a 5-way switch because some guy hit it with his hand on a gig one night and it got stuck between the two. And they went, wow, that sounds great. Maybe to warm up, I'll play a little bit of David Spinoza's classic blues that got nominated for a Grammy this year, and he played it for me 40 years ago is when he showed me how to play this song. And at that point, it was called Friday the 13th, and now it's called Hidden Drive. I gotta turn this mic down, sorry. Okay, that's Hidden Drive by David Spinoza. I wrote a lyric to it. I've written 2 lyrics to it, and he's used them both, but he didn't record it that way. I got to get something to drink, folks. I got a lot of creativity going on here these days. Yesterday I was recording a song near and dear to my heart for my recording project that some of you know about and some of you have generously supported, and that series of CDs is going to be called Grace Notes, and the first one's going to be 7 songs. 7 songs. You're going to see something tonight about what I think about the number 7. let's just say I'm a fan. And so yesterday I was at Jamie Flynn's and we were recording percussion overdubs on a drum track. And with a great percussionist named Jimmy Valone. Where did I put my tuner? Hang on a second, folks. So there's kind of radio silence happening out there. Let me know that I'm still on. I'm still streaming. Am I still on? Are you still hearing me? A simple yes will do. Anybody there? Have I lost the stream? Well, I don't hear. Yeah, yes, okay. Thank you. Gosh. It does happen sometimes. I've had awful internet service here in this house recently. So getting back to Grace Notes. Sometimes life works out in this weirdly symmetrical way. There was a guy who used to live in this neighborhood. His name was Moss Hart. And he wrote one of the great autobiographies of all time. And that autobiography is called Act One. I highly, highly recommend it. It's about how he got into the theater. He had a house out here, but he grew up in New York. His whole guitar's gone sharp since I last played it. Another thing I have to talk about tonight is I am, after all this time, starting a podcast. It's going to be called Story of My Life. Theoretically, the episodes are going to come out on Fridays. So some of these stories you guys have heard have been previewed here on the Here and Gone show, and but I'll expand on them. I won't just retell the exact same things, but I'll give you a preview of one tonight. I have to collect my thoughts here because I just don't want to be too scattershot here. I have a gig coming up in Flemington, October 8th. It's at the Flemington Chamber of Commerce, of all places, on Main Street there. Watch this space on my Facebook page. You'll hear about it. You'll find out about it. But the symmetry of life. Moss Hart used to write about it. He said as a playwright, he used to try to implement that in his life. Artificially, he would try to make an act one with an ending and a curtain. But he'd try to do it, make it happen out of life. That's working. But in this case, I want to tell you guys about an episode here in my life where this is going to be supernaturally strange how this has worked out. When I was 18, I wrote one of my first songs, and it was inspired by an old actress, actually, although I made it into a singer. And I called that song Jean. And it was one of the first times that people started to notice me as a songwriter. And strangely enough, the first guy who really noticed me and the song was Jamie Flynn, Jim Flynn, the blues drummer, the hardest working man in showbiz. And friends, he told me one night, wow, that's a great song. I was 18, you know. He's a year older maybe. He was 19. And I asked him to bring his drum set up to my house in Watchung, New Jersey, and show me what he would play on the song. And so he did. And that night he smoked all my mother's cigarettes up. He carted his drum set into our back porch there, and we played the song, and I thought he played it great. And then I never recorded it. It didn't fit on my first album, and then it kind of got forgotten, and then it wasn't forgotten. I remembered it, but I thought, no, it's a naive song by an 18-year-old, and yet now, as I revisit it all these years later, I've started to like it again. And you'll tell me what you think about it. I'm thinking, I wrote it when I was 18 on a nylon string guitar, but that doesn't matter. I'm not tied to it. But I do think it might be a nylon string song. It's got that vibe to it. And so I'm working hard on it. We're going to make a nice master recording. It's the first time I've recorded live drums in 20 years or something. So we're making a real record here. This is going to be a record. And Gene will be the single off the album, the first volume of Grace Notes. And I will keep you posted as to how that goes. I post the GoFundMe page every once in a while. I haven't posted it in quite a long time. But I wanted to thank you for helping out and contributing. It means a lot to me. And so here we are. And here's the crazy thing. 50 years later, and Jamie Flynn is playing on the song Gene that he isolated 50 years ago and got me started kind of as a songwriter by encouraging me. Be careful who you encourage. You might encourage the wrong people. In 2015, I had a serious round of creativity, and I painted a bunch of paintings in that year. And here was one of the best of them. The last one that was the best, pardon me, I actually sold. And let me get this straight here so I can see myself. I need to see as I hold this up. This is an untitled painting, and no, it's not coming out right. Hang on a second. You can't see it. I got to do some switching around here for a sec. If I do this, okay, here it is. This is it. This is the last of that batch of paintings. This painting is for sale. Doesn't have a price on it yet. But if you're interested in it, I'd entertain any reasonable bid. As you can see, it's influenced by my favorite artist, Jackson Pollock. But now I've started a new style, and I've found kind of a style of my own, I guess. And I'm going to show you those in a moment. I have to get another drink. Hang on a sec. And I'm going to play you Gene, which is going to be the next. It's going to be the opening song of the Grace Notes project. And then in the meantime, I'm also releasing a single next week of a song I wrote and recorded in the 80s when I was playing with my band, The Stingers. And that song is called Turn Back the Clock. And I'm going to play that for you tonight. I haven't played it in years, but I am releasing it as a single. It's going to be on all the digital platforms. And yeah, that's a good idea, Scott. But I might convince you, Scott, that one of my other paintings, which you're going to see in a moment, is going to be even better, because these albums, these records, these Grace Note records are going to be 7 songs each. And there's a motif there. I lost my train of thought. The digital companies like Spotify, who I've been a huge critic of, and YouTube, who I've also been a critic of, they finally kind of gave in to the pressure by the music people, and they met with them, sat down, and they changed their tune, pardon the pun, and they said, we want to make you the creative community, we want you to be our collaborators now. And so they upped the royalty rate by a very significant amount. So all of a sudden I went kind of overnight from hating them all to saying, well, let's give them a chance and see if they're really going to pay people. So I have a single out now. Some of you have heard it, called Only a Dream. And that's out on every digital platform. Now, instead of withholding it like I was planning to do, I've released it on 50 digital platforms. So it would be the happiest thing in my life if I could tell you all that I actually was getting paid for all the work that I've put into songwriting over the years. And what is that? Oh, geez. What is that I just posted? It's nothing. It's some thing I'm about to delete. Okay. Do you want to delete this comment? I hope I don't delete the whole show. Yeah, but if you scroll up, as usual, in the upper portion, in the title portion of the show, Here and Gone, you'll find the PayPal link for tonight, which is your way of saying, Chip, we appreciate what you do. You're giving us a little entertainment tonight. We don't have to go out of our house. We don't have to pay for it. We don't have to pay parking. We don't have to pay for gas. And so I'm just bold enough to ask you to support it. And I'm going to post it again. I'm pasting it in right here. I got the PayPal link. I don't know how I lost it, but I did. And now I've got it. So it's now under Scott's last comment, the painting comment. And I'm about to play this song. Sit back, enjoy it, relax, listen to a song that an 18-year-old kid wrote, and then 50 years later, found a way to record. And it's a sad little tale called Gene. This was my uncle's classical guitar. 7 o'clock on Saturday night. It's time to start work, even though you don't feel alright. Why must the show go on? You can't eat and you can't seem to sleep. You're never awake, and sometimes you seem dead on your feet. Why can't you see the light? Gene, you've been waiting so long for the dream that they told you would come. Through the night I have waited for you, and the day when you'd pack up your dream and come home. Gene, you've been singing so long, but they aren't really hearing the song, just the voice that the song's coming through, not the love or the months and the years on the road. know you can't quit it, it's gonna quit you. And it's hard to accept when it hits close to home, it's true. But try and break the rule, can't you see that the poet is right? If you force the rhyme, you'll be throwing away the night, yeah, and wasting the whole day. Gene, you've been waiting so long for the dream that they told you would come. All the nights I have waited for you, and the day when you'd pack up your dream and come home. Gene, you've been waiting so long for the dream that they told you would come. All these nights I've been waiting for you, and the day when you'd pack up your dream and come home, yeah. I can remember singing that in the kitchen in Watchung for my mom. She had pretty discerning taste. She didn't like everything I wrote just because I was her son. I don't even know if she liked Gene. She liked it well enough. But that's how long ago it was. And just to be clear, I'm recording it now. I'm singing it now. I'm going to record it at my age now. It's not an old recording. The song I'm going to play in a few minutes, Turn Back the Clock, is a recording I made in the 80s. And I made it at Dan Caruso's studio in Central Jersey. And I discovered it recently. I had the foresight to put it on digital audio tape, DAT. Remember that format? And so it's well preserved. And I just had it mastered. And I'm going to release that song this week, Lord willing. So this guitar is Pearl. What did I used to sing? I used to sing a blues. Thank you, Nancy. So that Turn Back the Clock song was from the 80s, the days I used to have a band called the Stingers. Let me show you one of my paintings, and then I'll play a blues that I used to play with the Stingers on my old Strat, which I sold. This is one of the recent paintings of mine. I'm going to bring it to the gig in Flemington on the October 8th, and it shall be for sale there. And these are untitled, basically, although I'll probably number them. And so it's already numbered in a sense. It's a 7, as you can see. This is another one of them. And this will also be on sale that night. If anybody is interested in bidding on it before that night, you're certainly welcome to. Here's one that I think Eli likes. These are the series of paintings, The Sevens. Why seven? Eli asked me, why? Why are you painting sevens? Well, 7 is God's perfect number. That's one of the reasons I'm fond of this one. Here is a colorful 7, done a little bit differently. I'll show you one more painting before the evening is through. So I bought a Stratocaster from a high school kid out of his basement. I bought it for $220. And I sold it. I sold it to Jeff Klein, or through Jeff Klein. And then all these years later, I found this one in a store in North Carolina, and I bought it for the grand sum of $370 approximately. So the moral to this story is you can still get a Strat, and you can play the crap out of it. And I had a little work done on it by my guitar tech, Bill Mitchell. So yeah, he did do some work on it, but it was really kind of ready to play out of the box, so to speak. I got it from a Guitar Center in North Carolina. On one of my podcasts, I will tell the story of how David Spinoza got his Telecaster from down south. Billy Joel's guitar player bought it for him. And then he proceeded to use it on every major record. He used it on James Taylor, Carly Simon, Paul McCartney, John Lennon, Yoko Ono. And one night I played it for half an hour, and something happened. Something took over, and it was scary. And one of the stories I'll tell, this is a blues, famous blues, made famous by Eric Clapton. I've always loved it. Have you ever loved a woman so much you tremble in pain? Have you ever loved a woman so much you tremble in pain? But all the time you know, yes you know, she bears another man's name. But you just love that woman so much, it's a shame and a sin. You just love that woman so much, it's a shame and a sin. And all the time you know she belongs to your very best friend. But you just love that woman, yeah, so much. And you know you can't leave her alone. You just love that woman. You know you can't leave her alone, no. Something deep inside of you won't let you wreck your best friend's home. Okay, you got some blues on a Friday night through a Fender Tube amp, a Fender Strat. Hey, hi Joy, good to see you. Yup, I missed it too. And how's Dev doing? Tell him I said hi. I'm not going to go on too long tonight. I always like to tell a story. So I'll tell this one. I'm going to tell this story. It's going to be in my podcast. And you guys will get the first hearing of this. You'll hear a lot about my uncle in the course of my podcast. He was such a huge influence on me and on a lot of people. He was a master doctor, a hematologist. He did some history-making things. He made the history books in the world of hematology. First of all, one of the things he did was he amputated a hemophiliac's leg. And when he did that, it was thought of as impossible. You know what hemophilia is. If they get a bruise, if they get a hangnail, they had to go to the doctor for 3 weeks, the hospital for a couple of weeks. And my uncle was a decorated war hero of the Korean War. He had the Purple Heart. He was a sniper, and he was sitting in a tree. And one night he was reading a letter from my aunt, and he got hit by a mortar shell and sent back home. And never cried at his beer about any of that. Wore his veteran status proudly. I'll tell you a lot about him. But tonight I'm going to tell you this story about playing an epic game of hide and seek down the shore. It was right around this time. It was in August, maybe the end of August. The evenings were getting cool. We used to rent houses down on LBI, but this is about a beautiful little burg, a little village called Cedarcroft. And my grandfather had a house there. As a matter of fact, both sets of grandparents lived there in this little village, and that's how my parents met. They met at the Cedarcroft Yacht Club or whatever it's called. Well, it wasn't a yacht club. It was just a little club with a beach, and they met on the beach. And my uncle's family had a house there. That's where they all met. And my uncle married my aunt, who was my father's only sister. And he gave me my first 3 guitars. He was a wild man. And I'm not going to play my cards close to my chest and then reveal this to you at another date. I'm going to tell you tonight that the bottom line of all this is that my uncle and my aunt and all 6 of my cousins, the Kuhn family, were all killed in a plane crash on their way to a Bible camp in the early 1970s in Wisconsin. And it made all the news. It was big on TV in New York. It was a huge, huge tragedy. I played at their funeral. I'll expand on that more later. That's not the point of this story, but I wanted you to know that he died tragically. He was only 45 when he died, but he was always fun to be around, always a personality. He was a devout Christian, as were all of the Kuhns, and so we used to play hide and seek in the. Hi, Chris. Good to see you. In the little burg of Cedarcroft, which is on the Metedeconk River, and the Metedeconk River is a tributary off of Barnegat Bay, and so this was a childhood that you wouldn't believe. I had the best time, the best friends. We had these epic, huge games of hide and seek. This was at the end of the summer at night, and the lights were on, the street lights were on, and there were no cars per se in Cedarcroft driving down the streets. The side streets were just the residents, and so they all knew that the kids were out in the street. We were out in the street playing. The speed limit was like 8 miles an hour anyway, but they all knew us. They saw us. Nobody was going to go speeding down the street. So I don't know who was it, but the back porch, the porch that looked out over the Metedeconk River and over the boat basin, was home base. And whoever was it counted to 100. I went back on a back street, one street over, trying to find a really good place. I really wanted to win this game of hide and seek. I wanted to do something unique that people would remember. And so I'm walking down the street trying to find a place to just disappear for a while. And my uncle comes driving by in a blue Ford station wagon that he had. He has nothing on but a bathing suit. I don't even think he had sandals on. He was barefoot. This eminent hematologist. And he goes, jump in. So I'm thinking, well, this is as good a place to hide as any. So I jumped in, and he was on his way to the drugstore. And he knew that I was hiding. He knew there was a game going on, so he was helping. He was helping me out. So I'm in the car with Uncle Mike, and there we go, and we get to the drugstore, and then I see him do one of the coolest things to a kid is to watch an adult. I was like 12, and to watch an adult in a bathing suit with no visible means of any kind of way to pay. There's no wallet on him, and he just unwraps a candy bar and eats it, standing there in the store. I never forgot that. And the owner might have looked at him a little sideways. As I am looking at this bug, I'm looking at this bug sideways because there's a bug above me. Looks like a spider. And he's distracting me too much, I'm afraid, from telling this story. This light was supposed to be out anyway. But hang on with me, folks. This has a good punchline. I'm going to kill this bug. I'm sorry to say. What has he done to deserve this? Nothing, except just be in my line of sight. And it's a horrible looking thing. It's a bug that looks like a scorpion. I've never seen one of those before. Johnny Cash's daughter, Roseanne, was a New Yorker, and she moved to L.A. and environs there outside of L.A. And she lived, I don't know, near the desert or something. And she had like a toddler. And she said, you know, when she decided to move back east, she said one day her toddler's playing on the floor in the living room, and there was a scorpion crawling across the floor directly towards her daughter. And she goes, you know, I've had enough of California at this point. We're going to move back to New York. There we were in the drugstore this night, this beautiful August night. My uncle is in nothing but a bathing suit. I swear he didn't even have sandals on. He's just barefoot. This is the way he rolled. At the end of the visit, he just says to the guy, "Put it on my tab." You know, he's a doctor, so he had a charge account there. We get back in the car. So we're driving. We drive back to the neighborhood where the house is and where the game is still going, although it's over. And there's just kids screaming, "Chip, come on in. The game's over. You won. You know, we can't find you. We give up." And they're yelling. And Uncle Mike, this is where it turns classic, because he goes, "Listen, jump out of the car. Get to the right of the car. I'm going to drive through the yard, and I'm going to drive you around to home base in the back of the house. So just crouch down." And this is what I did. I listened to him, and I crouched down, and then I jumped out, "Ole, ole, and free." It was the longest lag time between somebody finally coming in the history of the game. And that was Uncle Mike and his doing. And he made it memorable. This guitar that I played Gene on earlier, this was his guitar. He usually brought it with him wherever he went. And on that occasion, he didn't bring it to the Christian camp in Wisconsin when he was killed in the plane crash. So before we part ways tonight, I'm going to show you one more painting, and it's the one that I personally like the most. So I'll see what you think. It's always up to you. Yes, I don't paint for myself and for my artistic expression. I paint for other people. And so the idea is, and these are for sale, and they'll be on display at my gig October 8th in Flemington. That's a Saturday night. And so this one is also untitled. I'll hold it up. Let me get back to the camera here. Oops, I hit the microphone, sorry. Let me put it in the middle. Let me hold it the right way. Untitled, but I'll probably put a title on it. Maybe I'll just call it number 15 or something. That's the painting from this recent week of paintings that I like the most. And so it will be for sale that night. Now, my new single that I spoke of. How do I explain this? It's a song I wrote in the 1980s. I always kind of thought about Bonnie Raitt as a potential artist. And I'm going to send it to her. I'm going to send her this new single. And you go, yeah, what chance do you have of Bonnie Raitt even taking the time to listen? And here's the chance, I'll tell you. We were backstage with her one time. I think it was at the Mann Music Center. Eli was just a kid. And we were talking, and Bonnie and I were kind of holding hands. I don't think Annie minded. And she came over and whispered something to me. And I kind of bent down, and she said, and can you imagine hearing this if you're a songwriter? She said, "I just want you to know something. I listen to every single thing you send me. Even if I don't always respond, I want you to know that I always listen. So keep sending them." There's Stampy. He's walking on a laundry bag. So that's a joyful thing to hear. And so I will send her this new single, which is going to be out in the next week or two on Spotify, on YouTube, on Apple Music, on iTunes. And it's not only a song I wrote in the 80s, but it's a recording I made in the 80s. So it's vintage, but you know, what can I tell you? I write songs so that they'll last. I've never written songs that were the flavor of the month. So I'll play it for you tonight, and you tell me if it still sounds like it could be current. Billy Joel just said on CNN, he did a very in-depth interview, and he was talking to the guy, and you know, he stopped writing like 30 years ago. Yes, he stopped writing pop songs and recording pop songs and releasing pop songs. He still writes piano music, but he said to the interviewer, he goes, nobody's writing my kind of song anymore. Nobody's writing the kinds of songs that I wrote. So they're all out of date. It was his opinion. But I'm less pessimistic than that. I think a good song has a lasting quality to it. This will be my way of saying goodnight to you. I'm so glad that you could stop by. Chris, Joy, Nancy, Scott, Phil, and anyone else who's kind of just lurking about out there. I'm glad to have been able to join you tonight. And sometimes we wish we could turn back the clock, and this song goes like this. You can never forgive all the mistakes that I made about you. And I can never forget all of the things that we used to do. When we look back, it seems so strange. We never thought that our love could change. If we could, we would just turn back the clock. Yeah. Sometimes there's no second chance. You can't take it back, and you can't slow it down. No. And sometimes it's out of our hands, and you can't keep the hands from going around. In your heart you may know it's right, and you may try to keep up the fight, but there's a point where you just can't turn back the clock. And time we just can't hold, and it seems that everything that means the most to us is outside our control. In your heart you may know it's wrong, and you may try to keep hanging on, but there's a point where you just can't turn back the clock. And I know that I still love you, and I don't want to let you go, no. I know that it's too late to stop, and we can't turn back the clock. Ooh, yeah. Okay, I apologize for the itchy nose. I had to scratch my nose through that whole song. Thank you, Nancy. I was glad to see you. I hope you'll maybe come. Thanks, Joy. Appreciate that. You'll see it on Facebook. I'll be announcing it. Well, God bless you all. Have a great night, a great weekend, and we'll meet again someday, Lord willing. And if you are anywhere near Flemington on October 8th, I'd love to see you at 8 o'clock on a Saturday night. We're going to talk, we'll tell stories, we'll sing songs, and I'll show my paintings again that night. Okay, have a great night. Bye.